Welcome to another episode of Halftime Roomies. Today's episode is going to be on the greatest sporting comebacks in history. We've got our guest George Joseph, my brother from my actual mother, over here. He's, as you can see, he's
Rocking my Lafael. Oh,
Rafael
Lafael
Nadal.
Nadal.
Lafanga Nadal.
Lafanga Nadal. You
Yes,
can
but
call
this
me that.
bandana look looks
Yes,
looks
going
good
for
on
that
you.
80s Stranger Things look. You know.
Nice. See, but we all need to go to the barber after this.
Clearly, yes.
Yes. So today's topic is on comebacks. But before we get into our comeback stories, what do you guys define as a comeback?
So for me, comeback would be when things are completely stacked up against you, when it's completely against the odds. No one is giving you a fighting chance in hell of winning from a situation that no one sees you coming back from. And you have that extra gratification by proving people wrong and actually overturning a result. That for me is the ultimate comeback.
Okay, Yash, what about you?
I think for me, comeback is, it's mostly the same that, you just go up against the odds and you snatch a victory from there. But, for me, there's two schools of thoughts in the comeback. A comeback can be just in a game, spontaneous, doesn't have much historical context to it. Or it can be something that kind of changes the course of history for your team or the league or the sport, right? So that's how I would define a comeback, yeah.
My definition is a lot more simple. It's when you actually come back from a position of losing to a position of winning.
That's what she
Very
said.
nice.
Yes.
That's what she said.
Okay.
Office joke. But
Okay, nice. So we have our definitions in. So we are gonna do this in 3 different sports
Yeah.
too. So you're going with
I'm going with cricket and specifically Australia's match against South Africa from 2006 and South Africa coming back and chasing the highest total ever in one-day internationals.
cool. I'm gonna be talking about football. I'm gonna be talking about taking it back to the old school days. I'm gonna be talking about Charlton versus Huddersfield in 1957.
Nice. I'm talking about the 2004 ALCS, the damn Yankees against my team, the Boston Red Sox.
Yes.
We'll see how
Well
that goes.
represented.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's get into it then. Who's gonna start first, George? So why are you choosing that particular incident in cricket?
For me, that's basically a team which was labeled as a perennial choker up against the team which was the most dominating team in cricket at the time and arguably even now. And the fact that the perennial chokers were able to turn it around from an unforeseen situation. That's, for me, that's the reason I chose that.
It's also the highest scoring game.
Yeah, and the
Well-
fact that that game for both teams totals combined were nearly 900 runs in one single match, which has never happened before.
Yeah.
So those are my grounds for choosing that as a
That's more than
ultimate comeback.
that's more than most test matches combined over 5 days.
yeah,
900
exactly.
runs, that's
that's
incredible.
unprecedented. Never seen anything like that in cricket before.
I think it makes the ground also makes the case for we should never play test matches ever again. They're boring and they're unnecessary.
Yes.
I would disagree. I think test matches are the
Yes.
This is
classic
not the
way of
episode
playing
for
cricket.
disagreement, okay? You continue on with your stories.
What's your story though?
Yeah.
Oh, my story. So, like I mentioned, it's Charlton versus Huddersfield. There was a few actual really good comebacks, but I went with this one, which is very obscure.
Yeah.
Because we had United, we had
AC Milan, Liverpool.
AC Milan versus Liverpool, we had the Barca versus PSG. But I think with this particular incident, I think there's a lot of, like you mentioned, right? There's some historical context over
Yeah.
there, and there's a lot of oddities in how the sport was played then.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of overcoming the odds too. So
Yeah.
it kind of takes both your points in. So what about you? What's your
I'm going with
rationale?
baseball. I'm going with the ALCS because firstly, I wanted to go with the team that I supported, and almost every team that I support has a comeback story. But this makes the most sense to me because it breaks the curse of the Bambino. And what's the curse of the Bambino? We'll get into that as I go into the story.
And there's no time like now, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
See, what is the curse of the Bambino?
Yeah, in 2004, the ALCS American League Championship Series. So that's kind of the league finale before the teams from the ALCS and the NLCS, the National League and the American League, reach the World Series. The Yankees, as we all know, have been the most dominant team in baseball history with 27 wins in 40 appearances at the World Series, whereas Red Sox had not won till 2004. It had been 86 years since the Sox won a World Series. I think the last one in 1918, making that 86 years. So the reason why I said it's the curse of the Bambino is that Babe Ruth, arguably the greatest baseball player of all time, used to be a Red Sox player. And then in 1919, he was sold off for $125,000 then to the Yankees. And that changed the fortunes of both teams. So Red Sox had won the first ever World Series and 5 of the first 15. So they were the dominant team back then. With Ruth's sale to the Yankees, the Sox just faded away into obscurity for the next 86 years. The last time they reached a final before 2004 was 1986, is when they lost to the New York Mets in the World Series. So the curse of the Bambino is kept, and the guy who sold Bambino, he was the guy who sold Ruth. So New England, Boston used to call it the curse of the Bambino for that reason. And even one of the most busiest roads in Boston, Storrow Drive, there's a sign that was called the reverse curse, or the curse reverse. Yeah, curse reverse. And so over the time, somebody just changed the sign to read reverse the curse. And the Boston officials just let the sign be because they believed in the folklore so much of the Bambino curse. So in 2004, it's a best of 7 ALCS. Yankees are leading 3-0. Bottom of the 9th inning. The Yankees are 3 outs away from reaching the World Series. I don't think even the Red Sox players at that point believed that they could make it. They could beat these guys in this game and in 3 more games and reach the World Series for the first time since '86. So the guy who's pitching to the Red Sox at that time, Sandman Mariano Rivera. Fun fact: more people have walked on the moon than have actually scored a run off of Rivera in the postseason.
Oh, shit.
That's how feared he is as a closer. He's also closed or saved the most games in baseball history at 652. The closest one to him, I think, is Trevor Hoffman at 601, and nobody else is even at more than 600. So that just tells you how efficient he was with closing games.
Okay, and to the uninitiated, which is basically me, what is a save?
So a save happens when a pitcher is brought on in the 9th inning to replace the starting pitcher or the reliefs. And with a lead of either 3 or less runs, he wins the game without giving up the lead in the inning itself.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
So that's a save.
Okay.
And so going into the actual game, they're down to the last 3 outs, and Rivera's pitching to them, and Kevin Miller gets a walk off, goes to first base, and from then on it's just history. I mean, Dave Roberts, I believe, comes in as a pinch runner, steals second, and they score a run in the inning. The game goes to extra innings, and Big Papi David Ortiz scores a two-run walk-off home run to win the game. So they win Game 4 in Boston. They win a very close Game 5, a very tight Game 6. They go to Game 7, and they just blow the Yankees apart 10-3, and they end up winning the series against all odds.
So this is like a comeback.
This is a
within the
comeback
game.
within a comeback within an overall league. So it's a comeback in the game, in the series, in their whole historical, in their own baseball history. So it's kind of like 3 comebacks
They
within one
multi-reverse
comeback, right?
the curse
Yeah.
on like so many.
And they went on to win.
They went on to win the World Series 4-0, sweeping out the St. Louis Cardinals. So for me that stands out. They're also nicknamed the Idiots by their own players, Johnny Damon and Kevin Miller, because of their eclectic and devil may care attitude, because they didn't really care about the curse of the Bambino. So for them, it was a situation where they thought, if we win it, we win it, but we're not going to really pressure ourselves into overthinking about the whole curse stuff and all. So that stands out for me as the greatest comeback in sport, coming down from 3-0, 3 games, against the greatest pitcher in baseball history.
Let that be a lesson for the kids. You should never care if you want
Yeah.
to win.
Yeah.
And I think more like just lifting that curse which had been weighing so heavily on them for all those years.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that does make that even more special.
Yeah.
you know.
Cool.
to come out of that.
What's your story now? The cricket,
Yes.
Australia versus South Africa.
Australia versus South Africa series in 2006. Australia is touring South Africa. Now, Australia, keep in mind, is the most dominant team in cricket at the time. South Africa go into this tournament already having the weight on their shoulders of the home crowd, but also being known for being perennial chokers in all major cricket tournaments. Australia go into bat. Their top three batsmen, like Ricky Ponting, Mike Hussey, Adam Gilchrist, smash South Africa out of the park. They smashed them to such an extent. Not only did it become the first team to cross 400, they actually go on to post a total of 434, which that itself was the highest score in one-day international
at that
cricket
point.
at ever at the time. South Africa go back to the dressing room like completely deflated, and they're like, "Holy shit, we need 9 runs and over to enter into this chase." No team has ever had to do that before.
Dude, I remember when you actually came to the house and you told me this, and you were like,
Yeah.
they scored 434. And then I was like, oh, I guess that means we don't need to watch South Africa's
Yeah,
innings.
it's
then.
no point. 434.
I was like, that's not going to happen.
I was watching this game, so my boards were going on, class 10 boards, and this happened, I think, between the science and math exams.
Yeah, this was around exam time, I remember. Yeah.
And me and my mom were watching it, and by the end of it, we were
It's like,
just
you'll fail anyway, it's fine. You
Yeah.
can watch the
So
game.
just given the fact that you guys and like you guys just as like casual fans at sitting at home are thinking, no way, this is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Everyone in that ground, not even the South African players themselves, must have given them like had any hope of winning that match. And just like when that's happening, the coach of South Africa tries to strategize, let's maybe reach 187 by the 20th over, and by the 30th we'd go like everyone in his dressing room was like, coach. It's ridiculous trying to plan something like this out. Never has it ever happened before. Let's just go out there, give it all we have.
And have a good time.
Just like Trump says, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to
What do you have to
lose?
lose? Take it. But so they literally go into bat and they lose an early wicket. They lose a wicket very early on. And then Herschel Gibbs, who incidentally happened to be drinking the night before, and the Australians noticed the guy at a bar and they were like, drunks coming into bat. And the guy's coming in with a hangover. They probably coming in with a hangover. These guys are sledging him all out of the place. He turns around and smashes them all across the park and starts what happens to become the greatest comeback in cricket. He smashed them for 175 of 111 deliveries. And by the time he gets out, like there's hope, but they're still 18 overs away. And they finally come down to like Mark Boucher, who's their wicketkeeper, steps up, brings the game to a super close 7 runs needed of the last 6 deliveries. One of their tail-ending batsmen hits a 4. They come like within 1 run, and then that guy gets out. Oh, sorry, they have 2 runs. That guy gets out, and then their last batsman comes into bat. He's facing Brett Lee, one of the fastest and
Ntini.
most. Mackay
Mackay
Ntini,
Ntini, yeah.
the shittiest batsman on their team, is facing Brett Lee, the best bowler in the world
In the
at the
world,
time.
yeah.
Everyone's looking at it, like holding on to their breath, and then like he manages to nick it off the third man. And then comes Boucher on the crease. They finally level the scores. They've leveled 434. They've matched that score. And now this added pressure of you guys are perennial chokers. You're going to screw this up again. You're going to screw this
All
up.
those
Everyone's looking at
His
them.
head, yeah.
And then Mark Boucher steps. He just needs to take a single. He smashes it out of the park for a 4. And the way he swings his bat, and everyone watching at home, watching in the park, the South African team jump out of the dressing room and they're like insane. Even like the commentator goes like, Ricky Ponting, the coach, the Australian captain, can't believe this has actually happened to his team.
Yeah.
That's insane. They went on and broke the same day the record for the highest total in the world was broken. They went and broke that same record and went on to exceed it, 438. They set another record on the exact same day.
Yeah.
And wow, like it's just like unprecedented that 872 runs were scored on one single day.
Yeah,
I don't think
amazing.
anyone who you guys have watched a bit of cricket before, and like I don't think we've ever seen a one-day international like that before.
Never.
And I think what the thing which stands out, not just the comeback, the fact that they did it with the tag of being perennial chokers.
Yeah.
And I think this game overall sets such a tone that it really then established that no total is now undefendable.
Yeah.
Like everyone, T20 took off from this and it just set the tone for everything after
Yeah.
that.
That should be another lesson for the kids. If you want to succeed, always drink the night before.
Or always score 438. Yeah,
Yes.
that's also.
That helps. That
And
also
don't plan.
helps.
Don't plan. Don't plan.
Don't
ahead
plan.
of
Don't
time.
plan.
Don't plan. Drink
Drink,
the night
just go.
before and don't care in the
Yes.
first place.
What do you have to-
What do you have to lose?
Yeah, kind of be like Trump.
Yes,
Take it.
exactly. See, he's won now. He's winning.
Yeah.
So, okay, so my story is Charlton versus Huddersfield, 1957, okay? Again, this was a tough choice, but in doing this research for like what the great comebacks were, I came across this and I was like, fuck, I have to talk about this. Okay, so
Yeah,
let
I
me
know.
paint a picture for you, okay? So it's December 21st, 1957, okay? It's the last game before Christmas, when we all know miracles happen, okay? And the last game before Christmas, Charlton versus Huddersfield, they're both in the vying for promotion at that point in the second division. So they're vying for promotion right now. And game begins. Charlton already go 2-0 down. They're 2-0 down. And then the captain of Charlton at that point, he actually has a dislocated shoulder. So his shoulder breaks. And this is 1957 in the second division, right? So the concept of substitutes has not happened yet.
Oh.
So there are 10 men now, and there's no substitute, so they have to play this game with 10 men. So 10 men down, and he actually goes, his guy's name is Johnny Summers. Okay, not to be confused with that bald porn star. That's
Yes.
Johnny Sins. That's the other guy. Actually scores 2-1. Okay, 2-1, and now they're feeling good about themselves. They're like, maybe we can achieve something. Boom, they get screwed for thinking that way because Huddersfield go in and they scored 3 goals after that. 5-1 now. 5-1, and then they nick in one other consolation goal, 5-2, and we are at 5-2 with 30 minutes left. Charlton is 5-2 down, and now Johnny Summers, not the porn star, comes in playing in a centre forward from left back, hits 4 goals right after this in the span of 18 minutes. So they go from being 5-2 down to 6-5 up, and then with 9 minutes left, Huddersfield score again. So it becomes 6-6. And then we're down to the absolute last minute of the game. And they're like, okay, blow the whistle, referee, blow the whistle. This game is perfect as it is. He doesn't blow the whistle. They take a throw in. And with the last kick of the game, Charlton score again 7-6. Final score. It's the
Was it
only.
Johnny Summers again?
No, it wasn't Johnny Summers this time. It was another guy. But this thing has never been reviewed. So never in English history has a team scored 6 goals to still lose that game.
Yeah.
And this was basically, this never happened again in history. But in 1960, you know what happened? Charlton, who won that game 7-6, scored 6 goals again and conceded to go 6-6.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude, this is crazy.
Charlton athletic, man.
Yeah.
I read the story and I was like, oh man, this is nuts, man. So that's why I was thinking about, there's obviously like a few really good comebacks. There's United versus Bayern Munich Champions
Yeah.
League final. There's Liverpool AC Milan Champions League final 3-3 again.
Arsenal Reading 4-0 down,
Yeah.
7-5.
7-5.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's
Us
a
against
bunch of
Spurs,
these.
5-3.
Yeah, 5-3.
PSG,
Barcelona.
Champions League, yeah.
There's so many of these, but I feel like just again that there's so much context
Yeah.
to it. There's so much drama involved, and this was literally the miracle on Christmas Day too.
Also, what's interesting about the story is this guy Johnny Summers turned up the heat in winter.
Yes, exactly. this is what porn stars
Summer
do
and
best.
winter, man. I
Yes.
know. Imagine what Johnny Sins would have done.
Hey, Johnny
Would have been a
Sins.
sinful Christmas.
Okay, so yeah, that was a nice conversation about like sporting comeback. Yeah, I think like the best part about like all of these stories that there's so much like drama involved, right? Like I think there's records that are broken, there's curses that have been broken.
And even recently, when Cleveland came back against Golden State down 3-1, that's the first and only time in basketball history that a team down 3-1 has come back and won a series.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing comebacks, not just team comebacks, but even if you look at individual stuff like George Foreman coming back 20 years down the line at 45 years old to win the heavyweight championship, or Niki Lauda after getting burnt to
Yeah.
death almost, coming
Yeah,
back and
coming
winning
back
the Formula One in 1984.
Yeah. I think
Full of,
George Foreman's biggest accomplishment was starting that grill company.
Oh, yeah,
also.
yeah.
That's the comeback
Yeah.
we don't speak about.
But do you know George Foreman has now come up with a new product? So he's actually now he's created this balm. It's a balm for pain relief for athletes.
like Tiger
Tiger
Balm.
It's kind of like not exactly Tiger Balm, but yeah, kind of.
Iodex?
It's more for athletes. It's
We can just
Let's
keep
do a
listing them.
plug.
yeah. It's
Go out this summer. Go out and get yourselves the latest George Foreman grill. And if you happen to enjoy yourself, maybe his balms as well.
Bombs as well, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was our comebacks again.
Yeah.
Good discussion as always with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys know if any like better comebacks or you think that we missed out on something, let us know. Our comment section is always open for you, as long as you keep it positive and constructive, because we have feelings.
yes.
Okay.
Please
so on
come
that
back
note,
to this video.
Please, yeah, exactly. Nicely done. Come back to this video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel as well. And on that note,
Catch our podcast.
yes, I always forget that part.
Yeah, catch our podcast on halftimeroomies.com and on Spotify, Google, and Apple.
Yes. And on that note, toodaloo, my friends.
Cheerio.